Hey, Niccole.
Hi.
Hey, so welcome to the Engage and Quit podcast. I am talking to Niccole. She's just about to leave staff.
That's right.
And
Tomorrow.
Yeah. And so we're doing like a retrospective or something. You know, like they do those little montages when people die in shows.
This is my montage because of my death.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I wouldn't know if they did them. Some press was just making a joke about an episode of Game of Thrones with the Starbucks cup, but I wouldn't know if they do it in that. I'm assuming they don't, but I've seen some that did. Anyway, so all right, so you're ready to jump in?
I am ready to jump in.
So kind of the purpose of this episode is you've been on staff for 9 years, ish, and you're not going to be on staff.
That's right.
And so there's two things. One is we just want to talk about like what you learned, what happened, blah blah blah. Maybe a little bit about where worship has been, and hopefully what we're going to be doing. And also, everybody always wonders like why somebody's really doing something. Motive from pretext and that kind of thing. And so this way they don't just hear me say,
right now.
they don't just, because some people, when I stand up and say, this is what Niccole's doing and why, I think most people just trust what I'm saying. Yeah. But there's always some people who are like, is there more? Right. So here you are.
Here I am.
Yeah. So, okay, so not everybody knows kind of your history here and so on. So
sure.
Like, what's your history? When did you come to High Point?
Yes. So I was a student at UW. I started coming to High Point my senior year because I was friends with Lisa Kibolowski at the time. She's Lisa Dolliger now. But she and I were friends in college. She had just started working here. And I had felt like the best way that I could describe it was like at the church I had been attending, it was a great church. I just felt like I was a bit unsettled, like something was not off at the church, just I felt unsettled there. And then I talked with Lisa. She was telling me about it. She's like, there's this young pastor. He's only been here a year. And she was telling me about some stuff happening at High Point. And I left that lunch just thinking, oh my gosh, I think I'm supposed to go to that church. Then I went back to my apartment and there were a few other friends hanging out with my roommates also talking about how they were starting to go to High Point. One of them had been at High Point growing up as a kid. She and her family left. She was coming back. I was like, oh my goodness. I really felt like the Spirit was just pushing me to start coming. So I did. I came on a Sunday. David Cuso greeted me. Some people listening will remember who he is. He greeted me at the doors, just like a giant smile. And I couldn't come the next couple of Sundays, but the next one that I was able to come, he was like, wow, so glad you're back. We missed you. And I just thought, how in the world do you even know who I am? Like that just, that really stuck with me. And the people were so great and welcoming. And I was like, I heard you preach and I was like, I've never heard preaching like this before. And I hadn't decided if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but it was so different and didn't quite know how I felt about that or the music, but I felt confident that I was supposed to be at High Point. So anyway, that was maybe longer than you were meaning, but that's how I wound up at High Point, attended my senior year. And then my husband and I got married right after graduation. And then we attended here for a couple more years before we moved to the Twin Cities to work with Crew. And during that time, we just like grew up so much. Felt like we learned about multi-generational church and the value of that, the value of mentoring relationships, that like we had been in intense discipleship relationships as students on campus, but to experience what that is like in real life with people was just so wonderful. It was awesome. We were in this like, it was an intern training education sort of course thing that you were doing with interns at the church, but you invited us to do that. And that was really huge for us. And we lived in your basement for a while. And yeah, we just experienced a ton of growth personally and spiritually. We understood what it looked like to be connected to a church and also the beauty of the church. Like we were raising support to do parachurch ministry, but also during that time, we both were like, wait a second, like maybe we should do church ministry. Like the local church is wonderful and amazing, and how God is using his people and reaching his people and reaching others. I don't know. There was so much happening in such a short period of time that it felt like this like vibrant burst of awakening to see what God was doing in this way we hadn't experienced before. But we did go to the Twin Cities. We worked with crew there. And then we were there for a couple of years before we came back, and I came back to take the job at High Point. I was thriving in campus ministry and really loved it. It was not a good fit for Scott, and he wasn't in a good place for
a little bit of an introvert extrovert divide there.
Yeah. And but I really felt like I was supposed to let go of that for the sake of what Scott needed, which was hard. But like 2 days after we decided we would finish out the semester, you texted me and said, "Hey, we're going to be hiring a worship director at the end of in the spring, and I think you should apply." So that felt like,
because I knew by that point you were thinking about coming back.
So the timing was just really providential and worked really well. And then we came here.
Yeah. Yeah. So at some point you got recruited by Tony Gallagher to help with worship.
Yes.
So you didn't. Your first time doing worship here was not when we paid you.
No,
you did it as a volunteer.
No, I did it as a volunteer, and I don't know. So I am trying to. I can't remember if it was because of Lisa that I knew Tony. I think it must have been.
And you and Scott were dating. Like you were.
Yes.
Probably dating a couple friends at that time.
Yeah, we didn't hang out as much until we were married and they were engaged. And but yeah, so I had auditioned for the ministry separate from Tony, but then Tony was like, "Hey, you should like play piano too, and you should do this." And then he had me help with the Mez second service when there was a trial of a second service.
I mean, maybe one person listening would even know what that was.
Yeah, it was before there were 2 services at High Point. You started doing like a full like.
It's a second hour but it had worship and I was preaching up there and everything.
Lisa was doing announcements. You were preaching. It was a second service, but
in an 80-person
room.
Yeah,
for like 10 people.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot of people.
Yeah, Sarah Jordan was up there too, leading some Sundays, and
sound system was really awkward.
Yeah,
but we did church and we were running a second service and we kind of previewed the thing and figured out what we wanted to be different between the 2 services, and it gave some more creative freedom to Tony to build that band with you.
Yeah, and then we like launched the second service, and then there were different bands for first service and second service for a while. You did a whole training with the worship ministry. Some of us who were a part of it at the time still can remember like key phrases that you used. Like, I don't know if you ever remember this, but when you talked about second service, you wanted it to be a little edgier. But you talked about like, I really think this is what you did. You talked about an egg, like a bird breaking out of its eggshell. I don't know what that's supposed to represent for the way music is supposed to sound. But you used that somehow to describe the sort of music we were supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, given that that's like 13 years ago, I don't remember either.
But yeah, so we would have that. We did that for a while where there was the first service and then the edgy service and had different bands.
Which meant the music was about 20% different.
Maybe a little bit more electric guitar and a little louder.
Yeah, I think one of the things, volume is a big issue for people. Maybe one of the things I think you had to embrace, and this was even more difficult for Lisa, was just part of being an intergenerational church means you just can't be as focused on being cool.
Yeah.
Has been my experience. Like, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Either you're going to be super cool for the 20-somethings and the people over 40 are just going to feel like this isn't for them. You don't really care about them. And or you're going to be like, no, this is for everyone. And so nobody gets exactly their little consumption shtick.
When we were attending High Point, you would talk a lot about how, I remember you saying this, like you need to be able to walk into the lobby and talk to the person who's your peer.
I said this is my definition of adulthood.
Yeah.
You are an adult when,
and you can walk into the church lobby and you can talk to someone who's your peer, and then you can get on the ground and you can talk to the little kids running around, and then you can talk to the person who's 40 years older than you, and you can have like vibrant conversation and interaction with all of these people. And so that was like really huge in general, just for growing in adulthood.
Yeah, being an adult is not being in your generation. An adult by definition is someone capable of being fully intergenerational. Yeah. And not needing everything to be catered to their own generational specific desires.
And I think that, I mean, so I can remember at one at one church spring cleanup day before we moved away. So before I was volunteering at church, but not working at church. And I remember talking to your son who was 5 and not knowing how to talk to him. And this was before we lived with you guys. Maybe he was even 4. I don't know. But we was talking to him and he was like drinking a soda. And I don't know. I was like, oh man, gonna get a lot of cavities. Like I just didn't know what to say to a kid. And I remember dying inside as it was happening, but not knowing what to say or how to recover. Like just, okay, and walking away from this 5-year-old who's drinking a free soda at church. And so...
Which is what church work days are for 5-year-olds.
Yes,
right?
That's right. I bring my kids now, and that's what it's for. So I bring this example, because I feel like when you're also talking about worship music at an intergenerational church, it's the same thing. It's that you have to know how to do music that's going to be able to be fluid to these different generations. And not every song is going to cross generations, but like you have to recognize, and this is just true in general as a worship leader of a church, it's not about your preference. You are there to serve a specific congregation with a specific demographic in a specific city with a specific culture. And so everything that you're doing is serving that church, that congregation, which means like my favorite worship music is not what we do every Sunday at High Point Church. Sometimes we do some of my favorite songs, but like not a lot, because it's
and I don't ask you to play my favorite songs.
Right. We're not doing as the deer panteth for the water.
Like as the senior pastor of the church, technically I am the worship leader.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I delegate the music of that to you. Right. So I could just be like, you're going to play these 5 songs. In fact, there are pastors that like, they write their sermon and then they go to the hymnal and they pick the songs that best go with, and they're like, this is what you're playing this week.
Right.
But I think what you've tried to do is the way we've said it is like, okay, in a set, we're going to have a few different kinds of things, because that's what makes up worship. It covers the whole emotional flow of the human person.
Right.
Different musical genres actually pull at different parts of how an emotionally mature person can express worship.
Yeah.
And we want people to have all of that. And some of it is going to be that we naturally emotionally connect with music that we emotionally connected with usually at critical moments of our spiritual life.
Yes.
So part of it isn't just how old you are.
Right. It's like, when you became a Christian, when you were growing in your faith. Last summer.
When you suffered profoundly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Things like that. If somebody like lost a child and they like were able to worship God in that suffering.
Right.
Whatever songs were like key in that time, those songs will always be special to that person.
Which, okay, as just a like an aside teaching about why you should be connected to a church. So for example, there are a couple of people in our church during my tenure working here who lost young children, babies, 8 months, 9 months. And the songs that they chose to have at their children's funerals, memorial services, when I saw them singing those songs, it did something to me, to the point where now still when I hear those songs or we sing those songs, it still does something to me, even though I was watching them experience God's presence with them in like an awful situation. And that's like one of the fruits of worshiping corporately with other people, is that when you know their story, you're watching them.
Yeah.
But that's an aside. Sorry.
I think it also goes, there's also issues relative to intergenerationality where like, I have found that a lot of people who seek God emotionally in scripture fall in love with the Psalms. Yeah. Slightly different ones, a lot of repeats, but like this is a songbook from literally 3,000 years ago. Right. Literally. I mean, just written in ancient idioms with ancient illustrations, but like it's all the same stuff.
It's funny because I in high school, so I mean, my background is in math. Yeah. I always was playing piano and singing and loved that, but I went to school and studied math. And I hated poetry. Like whatever, I had to study poetry in English, or like I had a Spanish lit class where we studied poetry in Spanish. All of it, I just hated it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I don't like it. And then I went through this season of a number of years of just grief, longing, sadness, like I don't know that I would characterize it as a dark night of the soul, but I mean, my version of that at that time in my life. And it was really hard for me to read the Bible. And so I would just read the Psalms like every day. That's where I was spending my time, and came to really love the Psalms and find ways to express how I was feeling, but I didn't know how to express it. And so, yeah, just as an anecdote of what you were describing, like that's.
Yeah, I was talking to a counselor recently about profanity and vulgarity for Christians, because a lot of Christians are like they feel like they can cuss now. It's just like, it's like all those biblical commandments about vulgarity and profanity. Yeah, they don't really matter. And they're, especially the young people, it goes in fits and starts with that. But I was like, I was writing something on it, and I was trying to write all the like good reasons to cuss. I was like, let's not straw man this thing before we attack it. Like, why do people do this? There's reasons.
Yeah.
And one of them was, my wife was like, look, I counsel some people that are so stuck in emotional immaturity that these are the only words they have. Yeah. They're like, they literally like to express their emotion. Really the only way they've learned to do it is by using vulgarity and profanity, because these are like exclamational kind of things, or are supposed to be, right? And she's like, so for them, like they'll cuss during our sessions and stuff. Like, I don't try to stop that. I just, even if they claim to be Christians, I don't say you claim to be a Christian, what Ephesians, whatever says about this, or Colossians. Yeah. But she's like, but I was like, but I mean, the goal would be to mature emotionally and be able to, and she was like, well, yeah. And I think I think a lot of people who aren't even that emotionally mature have the wrong attitude about pre-written prayers and pre-written songs that are conduits for this emotional expression that you just might not be able to do. Right. Sometimes for emotional reasons, you're just not emotionally mature enough to even know what you'd want to express or how. Sometimes it's theological. You don't know how to talk to God. You don't, but like the Psalms allow both. They allow you to jump into like a legitimate, good, deep, meaningful emotional expression that is also theologically robust in terms of truth. It'll cause good reflection and open feeling, and it has the ability to do that. And good worship songs and good worship sets do that. It's one of the reasons why music has been part of the worship of Yahweh forever. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Let's go back to, one of the things that people don't know is that the number one reason why churches split is division between pastors and worship leaders. Yeah. And worship leaders can often be like very emotional. They tend to be artists, and then they're leading artists, and it can just be an emotional bad time for everyone. And so one of the jokes that I made to the elders when I encouraged them to hire you was, hey, she's a math major. Yeah. First, then she's a musician. I was like, just trust me. Let's get this like really emotionally stable person at the middle. Yeah. Who can talk artist. She's literally married to a fine artist who's not emotionally unstable, but who is an artist. And she gets that. She can speak that language. Yeah. But she is like, in her heart, things are in order. Yeah. Like, I really like order and logic. Yeah. And so, and you were really young when you came on board, because you've been here 9 years, and like you have a near infant right now. Like, so. Yeah. I started when I was 25. Yeah. Which is a little young for what we were doing. Yep. People would say. But like I was joking at your going away party that like, I was like, I told the elders, let's hire 25-year-old Niccole so that you can enjoy like 32-year-old Niccole, who's now leaving. Yeah. But there's just been a lot of fruitfulness. So what do you feel like, what were you trying to accomplish? Yeah. What do you feel like you were able to accomplish by God's grace? So I think that I definitely experienced that myself and in my own life. Like, one of the things I've been reflecting on in this season of leaving is just how much God has changed me and worked in my heart. So some examples that I can think of. When Adam was telling the congregation at our congregational meeting that the new plan, he was saying something about like, it's hard to hire a worship pastor and a worship director. We really don't want to hire a diva. Thankfully, we haven't had a diva here for the last 9 years in Niccole. But I can remember before. I remember us talking about this when you lived with us. Yes. And you were like, my tendency is totally. And you said to me in one conversation, you're like, yeah, we really got to deal with the diva problem. And then with me. Yeah. And then also in another, it was the same conversation. I guess I can't remember, but we were talking about this. Like,
when I was in college, I had only ever known myself like my identity was wrapped up in music and being a good singer.
Because you were like in a glee club or whatever, like a acapella club.
Yes. And in high school, I went to a small high school. And so I was a really big fish in a small pond. And then I was in an acapella group in college. And like it was everything. I was still learning how to separate out that like your successes aren't who you are. It's that I actually didn't grow up with that book, the Max Lucado's Stars and Dots or whatever. Oh, you don't know that book? Okay. But anyway, it was really hard for me to not see my successes and failures as who I was, and to be able to understand that everyone has different skills and giftings and it's okay. And that like, I should just walk in what God has made me to be. And I really had a hard time with that. And I felt threatened by other singers. I felt threatened by other small girls with a big voice, like just really struggled with that. And even had some friends like speak a bit of a prophetic word over that in college as like a warning, that really came to fruition, and not in the good sense, but in the negative sense. Like I had an ego that I really couldn't kill. And so that was something that towards the end of college and the first couple of years out of it was something I really was trying to work on and to fight. And felt like God did a lot of work in that. And so because I could relate to it, and because it's something that I think that it's one of those things that, at least for me, the propensity towards vanity and ego is something that I just have to always try to kill and mutilate. And I've seen like wonderful strides, but it's still, I'll see these moments that'll flare up. Like just the other day, someone made a comment to me about something about how I started in this job, and my ego came up and I wanted to correct, like, well, it wasn't that bad. And then I was like, see, there it is again. Like, anyway, so I say all that to say,
I think I want to comment on that. I think that vanity is always at the door for artists.
Yeah.
Because their work is so personal and expressive.
Right.
It's creative. In that creativity, it's ambiguous. Like, is it good? Is it bad? Right? Or will people like it? Well, they won't not like it. They're offering something to other people's tastes.
Yes.
And they like, there's a lot of this like, and then oftentimes it's not like an analytical thing where you can say, oh, that blue is good. Like, it's extremely intuitive. Yep. It's like you feel it. And the reason why you can do something somebody else doesn't do is like a unique mixture that comes from like all these things kind of swirling around. And so when you have to believe your gut, when you like have to put yourself out there, when you have like, it's like a group of things that requires this kind of like deep emotional confidence.
Yep.
That isn't vain.
Yeah, you have to, exactly, yes.
And so like on one level, like if we have like a young woman or young man who's like talented musically and there's a little bit of that diva spirit in them, like we've talked about this, we're going to go after the diva spirit, but we're not going to judge that person hard because it's hard.
It's really
especially
hard.
If you are talented and you're doing art, to not have a like something of like a trust your gut, don't listen to anybody else.
Right.
Like you got to totally put yourself out there.
Right, to put yourself out there.
You're trying to attract attention.
Right.
In performance.
Right. And so it takes a vulnerability, which makes you feel, it can make you feel insecure or unstable.
And that way worship leading, especially in modern churches, can feel like a complete oxymoron. I'm supposed to draw in all this attention as the worship leader, but I'm supposed to be directing all of that attention to God. How does one even do that?
Yeah.
And I think it's even harder for women because of the sexual component of just like being a woman on stage.
Yeah.
That you can't get away from. That isn't your fault and you can't get away from.
Right. So one of the things that I tried to do on our team was just to expose it always, just to always say this is always at play here. And so we're going to fight against that. So we would talk about every year. I had this document that we would go over that was like the mission and values of the worship ministry. And we would spend the majority of our time talking about characteristics of someone who's going to be on our team. What character attributes are we going to try to have? So the first was always humility, that we were going to try to be self-forgetful, that we were going to do everything we could to say, you become greater and I'll become less. Like, yes, God, you're going to use me and I'm going to be on stage. And so people are looking, but I'm hoping that I am drawing them to look at you and that I'm going to become less in this process. I don't want people walking away thinking about me. I want them walking away thinking about the Lord. So like talking about that and pursuing that. Another thing that
look, here's an illustration of that. One preacher said one time, he said, my goal at my church is for somebody to, on Monday morning, remember the beauty of Christ and forget who preached.
Yeah.
Not be able to remember who
I've
preached.
heard you say that before. Yep.
But to remember the beauty of Christ that was declared and how it touched them and how deeply they believe.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So that's we just would talk about it. Like, we're going to get this out in the open and not keep it in the dark. That this is something that we all, to some extent, probably deal with because of the nature of self-selecting into the worship ministry. And then we would talk about. I always said I want our worship ministry to be a celebratory, feedback-rich community. And each of those were really like intentional. So we're going to celebrate each other's successes. I wanted everyone at rehearsal to be telling someone else, you did a great job.
That was great, yeah.
On Sunday, if you're not on the team, go tell them what you heard. Encourage them. If the mix was sounding really good, tell them. Like, celebrate somebody else's successes. Like,
yeah. And I just want to say, while you're saying this, you have served for 9 years without a paid sound technician.
Yeah. Yes, that's true.
So there's a lot of people who are worship directors
who have,
but they have paid sound directors.
Yes.
That not only are there to make sure all that stuff happens, they're oftentimes in charge of that team.
Right.
And they are under your supervision.
Yeah.
And you have not had that.
No. And it's a hard job.
You've basically led the worship ministry and the tech ministry, whatever we'd call that.
Yeah.
At least in terms of the production technology.
Yeah. And over the years, we've had more and more volunteers step up and take more of that, which has been great because they're far better at it than I am. But yeah.
We have had some great volunteers.
Yeah.
Like Matt Gruitt,
Ben Yard, Dale Nichols, who've been around like a long time, just given tons of their time.
Yeah, Dale had been here from time immemorial when I arrived 15 years ago. He's been one of the most faithful.
Yeah.
I think he has good technical ability, but just, man, he's just there.
Yeah.
He just shows up.
He and Tim Keener.
Tim Keener is like that as well. Yeah, just shows up again and again and again and again. Yeah. So and there's newer people with Lindsay's husband, who I'm
James Murray.
Yeah. And people like that. Lindsay,
Philip
obviously
Coles,
herself.
Lindsay Murray. Yeah.
So we've had some, and that's one of the things about church is like, you know, like we have a lot of like High Point has a lot of like college educated white collar people who like professionals to do things and people specialize but like, man, anything that can be done at a church by volunteers.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the things that I love about High Point is that it's a place that and especially coming out of Cru, because Cru is all about make disciples who make disciples. Right. Your job is to replace yourself. Right. And that's something that we do at High Point. Maybe a little different flavor, but like we are trying to be a church where as the staff, we're equipping the saints for the work of the ministry. And so they're doing as much as they can. And that's best. That's better to have them doing more of it because it's their church. Right. It's part of why like I am pretty opposed to paying musicians to be a part of a worship team. Right.
Maybe a special event or something.
Yes,
but
yes, there are a couple of like exceptions I have had in my head, but like in general, I want it to be whoever's at our church will be the people leading it. And if that means we've got a super sparse week team some Sunday, that's okay. It's not a bad thing. We're going to work with that.
Yeah, our church needs to grow on the beauty of holiness, not the coolness of our worship sets.
Yeah.
They're like it's the more ways you try to make yourself adorned, the more crutches you have from focusing on the main thing. Yeah. Like I have a daughter right now who's just emerging into womanhood, and I keep saying to her, "You are so pretty enough. Like you just like you can make yourself prettier, but like, darling, just like the next 5 to 7 years, focus on beauty of soul. Yeah. Like the beauty of soul will make you physically more beautiful because you'll smile and you'll be happy and you'll be vivacious because you'll care about other people and you won't be sullen and like there's a beauty that comes. But like,
it's so easy
be
to
beautiful soul.
Yeah, and it's hard in art because part of art is the value of aesthetic beauty, and that's not bad. I mean, like God's description of what the tabernacle needed to be was very thorough and ornate. And so it's not inherently bad or wrong, but when it's done for the wrong motivations and reasons, and it's really hard to draw that line. Like there are times where I've led worship to or taught to high schoolers or college students where I have intentionally tried to wear something that like they're going to recognize that and it's just going to give me a little bit more street cred because I'm like, I want to try to be contextualized to their culture where on a Sunday I'm not going to wear that same thing because that's not the right moment for that.
Mm-hmm.
And someone could listen to this and like totally disagree with me on that. And that's okay. But I just think knowing motivation and knowing context is...
I think one of the things people don't want to accept, and I think that this is especially true for minorities, when people think about minorities and women, is they shouldn't have to deal with that.
Right.
But I think the reality that I've come to see is no matter who you are, woman, minority, whatever, like the higher you go in leadership, the fewer rights you have if you want to serve your people.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it's just like all these things that you should not have to worry about. It's true, you shouldn't. But here's the thing.
People are people.
People are people. The mass is the mass of people. People have certain responses to things that aren't even true.
Right.
It's the reason why like our male and female staff don't go out to lunch together, even if that could be completely innocent. So like, even if it was completely innocent, even if human nature wasn't what it was, it still wouldn't look good.
I think that matters. This is something I learned a lot from you, sitting in on different pastoral counseling sessions that you would do, or even just in conversations probably on the podcast. Like, there is the ideal of what we would hope would be true. And we should strive for that, like in Christian fellowship, in Christian relationships with one another, and desiring to be unified as the body of Christ, etc. Or all sorts of things. I'm using that as one example. But then there's also just the way things are. Right. And whether that's you're talking with a person who has experienced insane trauma throughout their adolescence, and so because of that, they have some struggle that they're dealing with. Yeah, it ought not to be that way, but
it is that way.
It is that way.
Yeah.
So now what? And I just think trying to live in the hypothetical or like wish that things were different or yes, we can have some people spend their time on that, and that's good. But also we need some people who are going to be practitioners in the real time who can then say, okay, but right now, what do we need to do to try to reach these people?
Yeah, I think that there is a cynical pragmatism, and then there is a virtuous practicality. Yeah. Because like if you look at the bad version of moral conservatism, it's you're not measuring up. It shouldn't be this way. You suck. If you look at the bad form of extreme progressivism, it's everything should already be a utopia. None of these things should matter. We should just make it a utopia, and then it'll be a utopia. Yeah. And you're like, with what robots? Like, where will you get these robots that you can just make do the right thing all the time, even if what you think is the right thing? Or the conservative people, it's like, well, oh yeah, maybe your moral standard is actually correct. Either of these groups, they may be right. Right. But it's like, here's the people we got. And I think one of the most important things in Christian leadership is you are a shepherd of a flock. Yes, a specific group. Like, so what are you going to do with that specific group? It's a similar concept to parenting. It's like, your kid sucks at everything. But this is your kid. Like, this is where they are right now. Or like, your kids are not the same. So you're going to talk to one kid differently than the other kid. Yeah. Yeah. And you have to be developmentally appropriate along the way. If you were not developmentally appropriate, your kid just gets demoralized. Yeah. Because you're like, you should be a 7-year-old when you're 5. I have to remind myself, that my second son is 5, not 7. Yes, that's so hard for me. That was so hard for me. It's really hard for me. I was like, why can't you all be 17? I know. It's really hard. Yeah. I have to come back to that. Yeah. So I think that idea of like the values in worship being, because I've said to you before, I was like, listen, Niccole, I'm not looking for the best show in town. Right. Partly because we can't do it. We can't afford it. I want to come back to like how we've pursued this humility. Yeah. So one of it is we're going to celebrate other people so that we can like encourage one another and call out the good that we do see. That's I see that happen on Sunday mornings where people who are not on that week will come up and be like, that was real stuff, was so good. Yeah. And that's there's no cattiness. Yeah, it's great. And then the second one is feedback rich. So we're going to give feedback. That's a really great way to help somebody who struggles with pride to grow, is to help them see that they have, whether it's a failure that they can't see, a blind spot, or just like something that's lacking. Like we need that. We need to have these things. We need people to tell us when we're not perfect. And that's basically all the time. So like in that environment, but we're starting with celebrating so that people know, okay, I'm loved, I'm accepted here. I know that they care about me. I know they're not just going to like rag on the things I've done terribly, but then we are going to give feedback. We're going to say, hey, that note was a little flat. I need you to sing that pitch a little higher. So here's how you can try and do that. That part, you need to swing it, and that was straight. Let's play it swung. Like whatever it is, but we're going to be an environment where there will be feedback. Yeah. And I say that at every audition, and then we give feedback at every audition so that people
can experience it right away and know, but we also try to celebrate what they do at every audition too.
Yeah, I think it's also important to like point out that like when we do serve together like this, when we have humility and people show up like the sound team, and you have humility with the very people who are on stage. Yeah. Right. It like like this is the way I think church is supposed to be. Right. We equip the saints for the work of the service, but like it creates a spirit, like that creates a certain kind of spirit at High Point when people see people on stage being normal. Yeah. But being artists and leading us in worship, but also like somebody told me that asked me the other day, like, cause I said, you know, in our church, like in like the 5 years starting with the year after COVID, our church gave away about $5 million. And they were like, how do you do that? Yeah. And we were like, well, I mean, like you not having a sound person, that's like $600,000 or $700,000. Right. Yeah. Right. It's just, I mean, employees are incredibly expensive. Right. And when people volunteer and they organize themselves and we don't have to hire people to do stuff. Yeah. We don't burn that money in a fire. Yeah. We can look how to invest it in God's kingdom. Yeah. And we can invest it. And this is one of the reasons why there are like maybe 3 minority churches in Madison that are still open because we've supported them through that crunch. There's one church that was like probably going to go in a non-biblical direction, but got a really biblical pastor. Because when we supported their pastor search and supported them through that break, we were like, hey, look, they were like, what do you want out of this white church giving us money for no reason? We were like, listen, your church has been a Bible believing minority church. Doing it. And that's all we care about. We want you to get somebody who just loves the Bible and like trusts the Christ that exists. Yep. And not swinging your church. And they were like, oh yeah, well, I mean, that's what we want. I was like, well, great. Yeah. You know, like, but their interim person wasn't great, but the person they brought in is great. Yeah. So like that, all that influence comes from us, like not being, cause like one of the ways to be a diva is to like wear certain kinds of clothes, make everything about you. Another is to say like, I won't serve like this. You need to do these things for me. I need the green M&Ms taken out. Like, cause you could have been like, I'm not going to do this without the sound person. And maybe there could have been a point where you couldn't do it without the sound person. Right. And there were a couple times too when I first started where I was like, hey, can we add this? And every time the answer was, nope, we're going to prioritize other things. And I was frustrated because I'm like, oh, this would be good. But and usually it was giving money away. Yeah. Or like we needed a different administrative position to support the pastor so the pastors could do whatever. And like they were all, at least once though, I think it was we were trying to make a certain percentage of missions. That's very likely true. And we just couldn't do both. So, and I think... And there was probably 6 years where we needed a new sound system, like new speakers and stuff, because our sound was just not good. And the speakers were old and not directional and so much reverb. It was not 6 years for I had to do that within my first like 2 years or 18 months, replace those speakers. And I was so scared because I was 26 and I had to like spend $75,000 on speakers. Yeah. But that was going on for a long time. I think. Yes. No, the problem was much longer. Yeah. I just was still very young when I had to do that. It was very scary. Yes, I had total confidence in you. You consulted the right people. We went through the process just like anybody else would do it. Though. We did. It was a really good learning experience. We got a high bid, we got a low bid, we got a middle bid. I questioned you a bunch of times. Why is this like this? But math major, good researcher. I tried. So what do you feel like you got, like, what are you leaving behind that you think is good? I mean, I feel so proud of the volunteers that they have been as healthy as they've been for this period of time. And it's something that a lot of them recognize too, especially the ones who have been in different churches or different worship environments. And I think that is a testament to people really taking their own responsibility and taking it really seriously. So like the first year that we started doing this mission and vision, I just said, listen, I'm not going to, if there's somebody that you don't get along with on the team, that you don't want to be on a Sunday morning team with them, I will not separate you. If you can't be on this team with somebody, you can take a break from working with the worship ministry. But I won't honor your request to not serve with somebody because you can't get along or you're both divas or you just broke up or whatever. Like, I'm not going to do that. So if you need a break, tell me. That's okay. But you can't just say, I refuse to work with this person. And there was minimal bristling at that, but then they did it, like
think people understood.
I remember talking about this in like supervisor meetings. You'd be like, do you think I should make, because I don't think I should do this.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, no.
So I just.
And sometimes very valuable volunteers, like people with great voices and good musical skills. And it's hard to do that.
I think there's
feels like a game of chicken.
Yeah. There can be fear, especially as a younger person who's leading. But I think there can be fear when you try to draw a line in the sand of expectations where you're like, well, what if everybody quits?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being in this role for I don't think it had yet been 1 year, where I thought, what if everybody quits? And I came to this conclusion, well, if everybody quits and it's my fault, okay, then I can be fired and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody quits and I did the right thing, okay, then God will work with me at the piano. Like
mm-hmm.
That's okay. It is worth doing the right thing, even if everybody else walks away.
Mm-hmm. But
that's really scary. And there have been some people along the way who have, but not that many.
No.
Like, I just think people.
There's definitely more people in the worship team now than there has been during any other tenure, except for maybe Vince's. I don't really know.
I don't remember either.
People,
yeah. So, that's something I feel really proud of.
Mm-hmm.
That people wanted to be a part of this community and wanted to do sometimes hard things.
Mm-hmm.
I feel encouraged at the way that, like, some of that multiplication that has happened naturally, like worship volunteers who go to lead in the youth group, and then
mm-hmm.
youth volunteers who then are getting to work with these worship volunteers because they're there. And
youth worship has really improved. Like, and one of the leaders, like 2 years ago, was a girl that you mentored
mm-hmm.
for a while.
Yep.
And she worked with some of those adult volunteers, and they really did something good. And
Jack was a band leader on Sundays, and he
mm-hmm.
was like, I gotta go lead with youth. And
mm-hmm.
then he left, and he did just such a great job with youth.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, all right, I'm done with youth. I'll come back. And then Chris Smith's like, well, I'll go and
mm-hmm.
keep doing what Jack was doing. And
but you've had some good student people, and a few students play on the worship team too.
Serve on Sundays, which has been cool. I
think one of the important accomplishments too is when you first got here, we looked at the dilemma of, is the goal to have really great artists producing amazing sets, or is the goal to multiply artists and bands so that we can like plant churches and have other worship teams and help other churches? And my vision was always the latter. Yes. I was like, what we want on stage is like a girl next door voice. Like it has a purity. It has a certain level of vocal quality that's good.
Mm-hmm.
But like, we're not looking, you don't need to go to find like singers that washed out of Nashville or something. Like it just isn't what's needed. And I think that's been good. And so when we had a chance over at Crossroads, we had actually an abundance of musicians.
Yeah, we did. We sent
over there
4 incredible musicians over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was I think being able to see that was that was a joy for me.
Mm-hmm.
Chad was he's just stellar. He's just so solid. As a Christian,
he was good
as a
when
musician.
He came,
oh yeah.
But I just like his comfort, his level, and like I feel like he's grown a lot.
Mm-hmm. There was a worship cohort. We just started it a couple years ago that we're hoping to keep doing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another thing that I feel like has been a great accomplishment that I'm proud of that has come out of the ministry, because it's all about training worship leaders on how to do this. You talk a lot about Madison's a transient city. People come in and out. And so let's send as many future elders around the nation as we can. Like, people are going to move here to the coast and to Nebraska and to Texas and wherever they're going. And so they're probably going to leave here, but we can be sending them to be great, faithful members of whatever church they're part of. And I think I see the worship ministry that way too. And so we did this cohort to try and train worship leaders in working towards these attributes and these characteristics of leadership in general, but then also some of the real basics, like how do you listen to a song and then communicate to your band what you want them to do to emulate the song? How do you work with a pastor when he's preaching and you're trying to get something out of him, but he doesn't really know yet? How do you do that? Some of that sort of stuff that got more granular, but then also just working with people, having humility, pursuing, reading the Bible, studying the Bible. And so that's something I'm excited to keep doing. but just more of that, like training more people to do this work.
Yeah, I feel like you've also had a good portion of success in making sure our ministry could be multi-ethnic, like in multicultural, like people who have like from different musical backgrounds and also like just different vocal tendencies, like, different groups of people just kind of sing different and pick songs different and connect with things different. And to have like, we have got Korean worship leaders and Central African worship leaders. And I mean, obviously Debbie Biddle was here for a long time and didn't require a ton of maintenance, but still just like relationally connecting her with other singers and so on. People like Sarah Jordan was kind of classically trained, and you've got some classically trained pianists, and then you've got some other people that aren't.
Yeah, that's helping people who are like super heavy in music theory to communicate with the bros who love natural number system and like everything in between. It's just been fun. Like I've really enjoyed that. And helping everybody see that these ways are equally, like, they have something to offer. One isn't better than the other. Sometimes in different contexts, they're more helpful, but like they're.
But you could get a guy who like kind of learned to play drums in his garage.
Yeah.
But like, you can play them.
Right.
And you're like, okay.
And then you can put him next to Craig Jordan, who has a degree in music composition.
Yeah.
And it can work.
Yeah.
It just takes a little bit of like translating.
Yeah. And I think that the preeminent value of humility makes that all possible. You know?
That was another thing we always, like, we talk about that every year. You're going to work with people who think about music and read music and listen to it differently than you, and you got to learn how to talk to them.
Yeah. I think that's been good for like song banks and stuff too. Like, I think you've done a good job with like having stuff that's hymnody, like that, where the main thrust of the song is working through theological themes. And it's accessing the heart through the mind and through specific doctrinal truths. And then there's other things where people are meditating on certain spiritual encouragements. Yeah. Like I think of that as like a lot of the contemporary Christian music is like that. And then you have other things where you're repeating emotionally difficult things where you have psychological inhibition. I think of gospel music as being particularly good at that. It's like even like a song like Our God is Awesome, right? Like throughout the week, as things go bad for you, right? Like the thing that creeps in is like, maybe God's not awesome. Like maybe who's really helping me? And then when you go into Black churches, a lot of gospel music is focused on thankfulness, how God is fantastic.
Which is also, a lot of it has its roots in songs that were written in the period of time with slavery. So it's like these things that you're like spiritual, African spirituals that are coming out of that too. Like I think you find gospel's roots in that, which tells you something about like, why do you need to meditate on thankfulness in an awful circumstance? Because you have to have that to cling to.
Yeah, otherwise it will destroy you. Yeah. Yeah. In some ways it creates a certain freedom. Like if you can be thankful to God in the midst of oppression. Right. You are in a way transcending the oppression.
And sometimes too, you have to profess what is true, even when you don't feel it, to not like dissolve inside. And like we sang a song a couple Sundays ago that was focused on, it's called You Have Made Me Glad. And I saw a couple of specific people in the congregation who I know are walking through something really hard right now. They are not feeling glad. Right. And the song they're singing is You Have Made Me Glad. And as the worship leader, I started calling out, because it's a call and response song too. So I started calling out some other things like, you will make me glad. Like, has he made you glad? He will make you glad, because you need to remember that. But like these songs serve a purpose in the way that they're written and in their form.
Yeah. I get frustrated with people who are like, oh, I hate these songs that just repeat forever. Like there are certain like contemplative songs, like Christian contemporary songs, where they're just not made to be. So the chorus isn't made to be sung 16 times. Yeah. Like that's right. Yeah. And I was taught by my Vineyard mentor that like, just never play a verse 3 times. Like just be like, at some point you gotta just end. Yeah. But with gospel music, it is designed to hammer on inhibition. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Because you're like, how can God be good when I'm feeling this way, or when everybody's against me? And so it's like in situations where you feel like your major psychological obstacle is oppression, like pressing in on you, that pushing out against your own psychological ambitions and saying, no, God is good and I'm thankful. And he's done a lot for me. Yep. And I'm not entitled to everything. And like gospel music, like, but the reason why you have to repeat it 37 times And a lot of, especially like whiter folks who are used to songs that build thematically, don't often like repeating "My God is awesome" 37 times, is because they don't think in terms of like, when you have psychological inhibition, you have to repeat it.
Yeah.
Because you start out pissy, like,
right.
Our God is awesome.
Yeah.
But you have to get to where
you
let
really
go.
believe
You really
it.
let go of stuff, and you're like, no, God really is awesome.
Yeah.
Our God is awesome.
Yeah.
He is great.
You find yourself singing a song kind of rote, just like I'm just singing, I'm singing, and then you sing it more and more, and then like you said, you realize, oh gosh, I don't believe this right now. Okay, so that has cracked open, and now I need to deal with this.
Which is why a good call and response gospel leader can help with that, because they're adding in that variability with the repetition.
Yep.
And the variability with the repetition has the ability to create a psychological moment that is very releasing, empowering. And now I've been in a lot of Black churches where I don't feel like that happens.
Sure.
And so that music is happening and it just feels rote, and I don't feel like people are really experiencing that emotional uplift. But I've also been in Black churches where I do see it happening.
Yeah.
And you can see how it, like, people stand up straighter and they come out of their shell and they put away their emotional inhibitions, and they can emotionally function towards God, and they're refreshed for the week of not being broken by whatever downtroddeness they face. And so, and certain forms of Black preaching are designed to do that, like the repetition of like what was called hooping at the end of Black sermons.
Yeah.
I think can do that. I think a lot of modern versions of it are not as effective as older versions of it, where the content was growing while the rehearsal was happening.
Sure,
Actually, there's been a decline in the quality of hooping and Black preaching in most churches that I've been to. But when you see somebody who can actually do it, it is actually incredibly emotionally effective.
Yeah.
It really, like, it's like walking upstairs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's a repetition. You're taking repetitive steps, but like they have a way of like pushing it a little further, until it creates like a really profound, intellectually valid but emotional release.
Yeah.
Where you're like, yes, Christ is great to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like where that happens, and so I think it's one of the reasons why we try to incorporate gospel music, not just because we want Black people to like our church and want to come to it too, and have a place that's really multi-ethnic. It's because these different cultural expressions are shaped around different problems.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember being in seminary and there were classes on like Black theology and stuff, and I was like, what do you mean Black theology? Right. And I remember one guy being like, okay, like on one level, what it means at some universities, which is reading the Bible through communist, like that's not right.
Right.
But what it means like is if you have a like quintessential certain kind of Black experience.
Yeah.
The way you'll formulate questions will be different.
Yeah.
That will lead you to ask different questions of different passages of scripture.
Yeah.
And even doing valid exegesis of the Bible, you will just end up saying different things.
Yeah.
And you'll say different things than these other people said.
Right.
And it'll be enriching.
Yep.
And I was like, oh yeah, I mean, that does make a lot of sense.
Right.
And for
you
that
can
to come across in
experience
worship,
that in the music, right? In the variety of styles of songs. And yeah, absolutely. So one of my favorite things that we got to do while I was here was the Worship Through the Decades that we did last summer.
What were the decades you did?
We started with like as old of hymns as we could find.
Like 1600s.
Yeah. And then we did 3 weeks of hymns. And then we did the first like decade we did was the 1970s.
Okay.
And we did 70s, 80s, 2 weeks in the 90s, 2 weeks in the aughts, 2 weeks in the 10s, and then rounded up in the 2020s. And it was great. It was so fun. It was really fun. I mean, we were talking about this before, that like when you're really going through growth spiritually, you really connect with those songs. And so it was cool to see different people in the congregation just coming alive during the different decades, but then also to see other people get to watch their brothers and sisters and realize like, oh, this means something to them. In a way, it doesn't mean something to me, but like I get to watch what it's doing for them. It was really something special to watch. And then there were, of course, like a couple of songs that was like, whoa, this reaches everyone. My favorite moment of the whole thing was when we sang Awesome God by Rich Mullins.
Oh, really?
That was the best, in my opinion. That everyone just like erupted.
Which is so funny because it's such a simple song.
Yeah. Well, it is. If you sing the verses aren't very simple.
The first
and they're
verse
like,
isn't great even. Anyway, that was one of those. That was like the fourth song I learned on guitar.
Was Awesome God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was cool to see how. I hope that there's something lasting from that people realized, oh, okay, here's why we do all this different stuff.
Mm-hmm. It is hard for people to really get into songs of other decades sometimes. Like I made Lisa Dolliger, Kibolowski, listen to Keith Green one time. And I was like, you need to know this exists and you should have heard it. You may not love it. And she just didn't get it. Yeah. She's like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. See, and I never listened to Keith Green growing up. We listened to Rich Mullins in my family, but we weren't really a Keith Green family.
Yeah, I mean, that was old by then. I mean, Rich Mullins was like almost 2 decades later.
Yeah. No,
like, cause he was Rich Mullins was still writing music in the 90s. Like he died in 97.
Sure.
96.
When did Keith Green die?
And Keith Green died, I want to say 78 or something, wasn't it?
I think we sang some Keith Green songs in the 80s. So
yeah,
I think
but
he
they
was
were
around
still,
in the 80s.
No, but I think he was dead by that point.
Well, we were trying to sing songs only in the
82?
year they were written.
Oh, okay. Maybe you're right. Maybe it was like 82 or something.
I don't know. Anyway, that was really fun.
You go on, I'll fact check us.
What are we talking about now? What are we moving on to?
We talked about stuff you thought you accomplished. We talked about multi-ethnic stuff. Yeah, why don't you say a little bit? You said a little bit more about what you were gonna be doing.
Yeah.
Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah.
Not just to get like music. You can say enough to get like music stuff,
I don't
but like
have stuff
talk about
really.
volunteer stuff.
Yeah. Too. So, I mean, I'm gonna be home with my kids primarily, but I don't think that's what you mean.
No.
So I'm hoping to still. I mean, High Point is our church. I was a part of this church before I worked here. This is our church, and so we're excited to be here and to be like serving in our church. I'm hoping that it'll be a season for Scott to really get to do the things where he's going to flourish and have a bit more like time and energy that he can put towards his things. I don't know what he's going to choose. But then I have from the beginning, I've been trying to figure out what are ways that I can still support the worship ministry, just without being on any teams on Sundays. So, at least temporarily for the beginning, Laura, who is she's been the worship ministry assistant for the past, I think 7 years or so.
Laura Knox, tall, thin, long, dark hair.
Yes. She's going to be the interim director until we hire somebody. And then I'm going to be the interim worship ministry assistant until we hire someone, and she'll move back to the assistant position. But that way she doesn't have to hire anybody.
This way you don't have to be on stage. You don't have to be in the office.
Right.
It's all administrative.
It's all administrative stuff, but it'll be a good way to still like support her. I think I'm really excited to get to support the ministry in whatever ways I can. I'm hoping to keep writing some music for the church. We have written a number of songs, like myself and Vince when he was here, and then Tony's worked on some. Justin Lee has worked on some, Jack, Chad. Like there have been different iterations of this over time, and so I'm hoping to do more of that. Every time I went on maternity leave is when I always felt like I had some creative juice to do that sort of thing, because I just felt freed up.
But you only did that 4 times.
Right. Yeah, I only went on maternity leave 4 times.
Which I like to joke is a full year of pay.
Yes.
Which we're very glad to have been able to provide.
That's funny. Although the first one I did not take 12 weeks.
You didn't?
No.
Okay.
No. That was not quite the culture at that time.
Yeah.
So anyway.
We still don't give men parental leave.
No, that's true. So I'm hoping to write more stuff. There's a song right now that actually when you're officially back from sabbatical is waiting for you in your inbox to approve.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, have a few ideas of things. So I'm excited for that.
You are going to do some like music and worship lessons, right?
Yeah, I am. I'm doing some piano lessons, which will be fine, but I'm really excited about doing worship lessons. There are a couple of younger girls that I'm going to, like middle school and high school, that I'm doing that with. I'd love to do more of that. I'm really pumped for that. I think that's, I've done a little bit of it before, and I think that's just so important. And I guess it makes sense. Like as you grow an age, you learn to love different ages. Like I was terrified of kids, cavity conversation we alluded to before. And now I have kids. So
they're not as terrifying.
No, they're not. I know how to talk to them.
I used to not know how to act around disabled people, and then I had a disabled child, and
there you go. Right?
They're not that fragile. You can just do stuff. It's
right.
fine. But like I didn't even see disabled people, or especially parents of disabled people, until I was one too. Yeah. There's some stuff you just only get eyes for.
Yeah.
When you have some experience.
Right. So I'm really excited for that. I don't entirely know what it'll look like, but still hoping to do the worship cohort, just like as a volunteer to lead that. Maybe in conjunction with Laura or something, but I'm trying to find these ways that I can, from the background, still serve and figure out like, okay, there are these giftings that I have. I do have this experience. How can I still use that to build the church?
Yes, but it's cool that like, I mean, your husband has a lot of gifts too. And if there's time for Scott to do stuff and that's more now, that'd be fun too. And
right.
Yeah. So anyway.
And we're excited to come to church as a family in a way that we haven't been able to for a long time. Obviously you get that because that's always been the case for you.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, a couple Sundays during my sabbatical.
Yeah.
We just went to church together.
Right. Did you go out to lunch afterwards? Was it electric?
No. Not really.
Yeah. So that was it was fun. We would try and do that.
What does that electric mean?
Just like, it was electric. It was awesome.
Oh.
You know?
Yeah. No, because our house is like less than a mile from the church.
Yeah,
you know, it's
a couple times at each maternity leave, we would try to go out to lunch afterwards because that's a thing normal people do.
Yeah.
And they don't need to go home and take a nap.
Right.
And I usually am
Did you go home after and take a nap on
Sundays?
Well,
not anymore now that we have a bunch of kids. But before we had kids or when we only had like one or two, I would take a nap. When we lived with you, you would come home on Sundays and you would just pass out wherever you were. Yeah. Like you would fall asleep sitting up in a chair.
Especially during football season.
Yeah.
It's like, we scored a touch.
Yeah.
I can't do that anymore because now I don't sleep early enough, and then it starts wrecking my Monday.
Yeah.
Because now I gotta get up and work out on Monday mornings. Yeah. So I can't sleep for 3 hours, then go to bed at midnight, and then get up at 7. Because one of the similarities between you and I that some people don't know is we are both sleep needy.
Those people who only need 5 hours.
They disgust me.
I'm so jealous.
My friend Adam from Boston is like 6 hours. He's like totally fine. He can do that indefinitely.
Right?
And so you and I, we need
I would like
8.5 to 9.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the sweet spot.
Yeah. I can do less than. Now, are you different in the summer? Because in the summer, I can do 6.5 to 7.5 to 7.5.
No, I'm never.
Once the sun is up at like 5:40, like I just wake up at 6.
Okay. I don't have that.
But in the wintertime, it's like, I'm seasonal.
Well, good thing you don't live like really far north where you don't have the seasons without the sun.
I tried to get a pastor in Alaska when I first came out of seminary.
Well, that would have been a problem in the winter. The thing is, I can't remember the last time I had 8.5 hours of sleep because now I've got very young children.
You haven't been on like a getaway or a vacation or anything where that was possible?
Well, then I woke up in the middle of the night because I just was used to it. So, not in a while.
Keith Reen died in July of 82.
Okay.
July of 82.
Great.
So when I knew he existed, he was already dead.
Yes.
Even though I'm old.
Yeah, that's what we've got coming for our family. It'll be an odd season. Like, it's funny. So my youngest sons are almost 1 and about 2.5, and won't really have, even my 5-year-old won't really have very much of a memory of me doing this. But I'm also excited to figure out what it's going to look like to get to be like leading worship with them at home. Like, there's one song that I wrote for High Point. It's probably the least favorite one that I wrote of mine. Mm-hmm. It's called Hallelujah Song. Mm-hmm. And my 2-year-old like asks for it all the time in the car. He's like, "You sing Hallelujah Song?" He can't say his S's, so he says an F. And he's like, he loves to sing that song. And so like, I think I'm excited to see what that kind of discipleship with my kids is going to look like. I don't know what to expect.
One of my older girls, her favorite song was "Thy Mercy, My God," on the Sandra McCracken album. And then another one of my older girls, her favorite song in the car was "Hit the Road Jack" by
Yeah. I mean, that is a good song too.
Yeah.
So my kids are learning about, Billy Joel as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Try to give them the broad spectrum of music.
So as we wrap this up.
Yes.
You're not leaving because you're angry. We have not had a falling out.
Not
you
at
have not
all.
lost respect for the elders or the pastors.
No, it's funny because I was pretty candid about this. Like after Benny was born 2 summers ago, I was so sad to come back to work. I was in a funk personally for a couple of varying circumstances, and like just had a really hard time coming back. My first Monday back to the team, we were in our staff prayer meeting, and I said, if it seems like I'm less than thrilled to be here, it's because I am. I am less than thrilled to be here. I don't want to be here. I want to be at home with my kids.
I want to feel like I was in at least 2 meetings where you said, I did not leave my children at home to be in a meeting this ineffective.
Yes. Yeah.
Like not enough is being accomplished to justify me not being with my 3 children.
I said that too.
Yeah. It may have been because I don't think it would ever happen to me with just me.
No, I think it was in a couple of exec team meetings though.
And I was like, I feel like that's a bold thing to say, but we have a culture of candidness. So
I was really salty and a little jaded and not happy.
Well, and I also think it was warranted.
Sure.
In those meetings. I was like,
I also think it was warranted in some of those meetings, but
I could see that.
But then a year, then I had Rocky and it was so different. I was excited to come back. And I also felt like the past 12 months of my time on staff, I really felt like God did a work in my heart and changed things. And I really was enjoying coming. And we have always kind of had it on the table. Like if it got to a point where what High Point needed from the position and what my family needed from me no longer were compatible, then we would know it's time to part ways. And basically, my husband, Scott, and I were both he had leave at his office too. So we both were home for 3 months. And those 3 months were awesome and easy. And I was like, wow, 4 kids is so easy. And then we both went back to work at the same time. And all of a sudden, we had been putting 80 hours towards our home and it went down to 16. And I was like, oh no. And so
this is what you guys refer to as the season of drowning.
Yes, it was the season of drowning. And it was rough. And
4 kids, all boys, 7 and under.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Yeah.
What a blessing.
It is.
Your hands
it's a huge blessing. My hands are full. It's wonderful. It's everything that I'd prayed and
You're
prayed
playing
for
zone
years.
defense at home.
And boys are a blast and they're so draining and exhausting, but so much fun. And anyway.
Because you said to young women who got pregnant or something, you were like,
your greatest fear is someone else's biggest dream.
Greatest dream,
Greatest dream.
And that's true for you.
It is. It is true for me. I know. And that is not lost on me. Like when I found out we were pregnant with Rocky, because it was very unexpected and quickly, we had wanted 4, just didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And my friend was like, wow, you're now all the girls that you had to work really hard not to hate. It's like, I am. That's who I am. And so it's not lost on me. I felt so humbled that God did this for us. So humbled and so grateful, like deeply grateful and overjoyed. And, coming to work at High Point as the worship director here was a dream job of mine. Getting to stay home with kids has been a dream job for me. Like I've wanted to be able to do that. But we also, once we started having kids and I was working, it never felt like God was making that clear. Like we would talk about it a lot. Like, and I would say to Scott over and over, I will quit if that's what we need to do. And he never once asked me to. I feel like that's really important to say.
He has a really good long-term attitude for ministry.
Oh my goodness, he has. And
people have no idea how hard that is for some. Some people love it. There are some people
who thrive.
They like it.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people that don't love it.
Yeah. And someone was like, oh, I bet he's so thrilled that you're leaving, like saying like, finally. And I said, no, he's not. Like he did not ask for me to do this and really allowed me to make this decision myself. But we were saying, let's wait till Rocky's 1. Let's wait until he's 1 to really come and address this. And then it just kept getting harder and harder. And it's funny too, because again, like even before Rocky, we would say, should we do this change? I don't think so. I think God is having me stay here even. I felt like what I was hearing from the Lord was not now, not now, not now, not now, quit now, quit now. Like it was on a dime, like just in a moment, it became very clear. And we were out to dinner and I was like, oh man, Scott, I was saying this while crying a lot, so it wasn't as coherent, but I was like, I just really think we need to start praying really intentionally about this. He's like for clarity about quitting. And I said, no, like for God to provide a way financially for us to quit. And he's like, whoa, oh, okay. All right. And very similarly to how 10 years ago, he and I decided we were going to leave Crew. And a few days later, you texted about this job opening at High Point. We decided, okay, let's start asking God to provide. And 3 days later, he came home from work and he was like, well, I was just unexpectedly offered a promotion. And so it just felt like God really provided a lot for us in terms of confirming the decision. And
yeah, I try to cheer for the men, and I really love the fact that like when you came here, it was because like he was kind of struggling in that work, and now you can quit because he's thriving in his work. You know, to see some of the men that were like in their 20 somethings, they were like, what am I gonna do? And like, and to see him like try to start his own business and to just do fine art, which is like a really cool thing.
And I want to speak to some of that too. So when we came, you were doing these like short little vision talks. Well, they were supposed to be short. It was 20 minutes. I had it saved as a bookmark on my computer for forever. You did one where you were specifically talking about discipline and diversion plans, which later you wrote about in Substance. But the OGs know this from, 2012, 2013. And you were talking about, I think it was somewhere in Thessalonians that you were referencing, but just this idea that like God has given you giftings and it's your job to steward what God has given you and try to fan it into something. And so be disciplined about what God has done for you and then try to have this plan to escape diversion. And so we were dirt poor, raising support, living in our like dirt cheap apartment. And we wrote out our discipline and diversion plans. And like one of his was he was going to draw for an hour every day. And he got he was already good. Like his degree was in fine art, but he just improved and improved and improved. And like, he's one of the most disciplined and hardworking people I know. Like I was naturally good at things. And so I wouldn't try to work hard. And he just works so hard at things and puts his mind to something. And so it's been just such a pleasure to watch him go from that to where he's at now.
It's amazing to see normal people be disciplined in what happens.
Yeah. Like
my brother is smart.
Yeah.
My brother Stanford is smart, but he's not, his IQ's probably not over 140, which among high level scientists isn't that high.
Sure.
Right. But man, that guy finishes what he starts. Like he gets the data, he processes it through, he does the things, he writes the code. And he's like, Nick, listen, and he's in the National Engineering Hall of Fame. He's not 50, right? And like part of the issue was like, I was like, why have you been so successful? Like you're not that smart relative to these extremely gifted other scientists. He's like,
also just a little look at what it's like to be in the Gibson family. You're not that smart.
Yeah.
To your National Hall of Fame brother. You're not that smart, Stan.
His intelligence is 2 standard deviations above average, but he's still, I mean, it's like, it depends on who you're with, right?
I know. I'm just saying.
And he's like, Nick, he's like, 90% of people who try to write scientific papers just don't finish them.
Yeah. Sure.
They take the government money or whatever the grant is. They do some of the work, but when it comes down to the unglamorous work of literally crossing the finish line, like rewriting it and getting everything right. And like, it's very tedious. And like, I have 3 books that are like that.
Yeah. Right.
You know, it's just very hard to do that. And like, just this last week, one more quick story.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I was with this guy. His name's Brian Baber. I'm going to try to have him on the podcast, I think. But like, he came to faith like in our kitchen in Florida. And this guy has just lived a disciplined life.
Yeah.
He's just chosen. He was like, yeah, I need to accept Jesus. What am I waiting for? My wife wants to come to Jesus. I need to come to Jesus. What am I doing? Yeah. And he just like came to Jesus. And he's like, well, now what?
Yeah.
And then like a couple years later, he was like, God, if the main way I learn about you is through your word,
I'm just going to read it then.
Can you help me find a passion for it? Yeah. And he like developed his like kind of his own devotional system that really worked for his personality. Yeah. And he's done it. He does it every day. Yeah. Right. And then there's a point where like he and his wife were getting along okay, but he could tell she wanted more. He wanted, right. And so he became a student of marriage. And like I was still there. He came to me, he's like, what should I do? And I like gave him a book and he like read that one. And like over the last like 15 years, he's like like try to increasingly be a student of marriage.
Yeah.
Just to be a better husband. And
right.
And he and his wife would like read these books together, and then they like would go on these retreats together. And he's like, and like they seem to really love each other. And their house is so warm.
You know, it's funny
like,
because
part of the difference is like
finish.
This is one of these guys that's like in the top 20% of like just disciplined. Like he decided what he wanted to do, and he is so intentional.
Yeah.
And even in the more the world gets distracting, the more that will be the competitive advantage.
Mm-hmm. I'm having these like emotions at the moment that are reminiscent of when we were just attending here, because I feel like there was something so simple about when we were first coming here. And we're like, it's simple. Like live the Christian life, follow Jesus, be a part of your church, serve your church. Like God is
complicated.
Yeah. And I think there's something really, really thrilling for me about coming back to that, like getting to move out of the spotlight, which is funny because I love attention. I will admit that first.
It's never occurred to me how people would be nervous in front of people.
Yeah, right. I know. Or just to like speak extemporaneously. Sure. I love talking in front of people.
The average person, like they're more afraid of speaking in front of people than they're afraid of death.
Yeah.
And people like you and I are like, yeah, I'll start talking right now.
It's so fun.
Yeah,
I think giving announcements at church is one of the most fun things to do. And especially if I like accidentally forgot that I was doing it that morning, it gives it a little more excitement. Anyway, I just like, when we first started, I feel like we were soaking that up. And there's something now that feels really special about in this next season, like really getting to, it's not that we weren't doing that before, but there's something about what it's making me think of is your chapter. Here's me. I'll plug it to read Substance if you haven't read Substance, but especially Welcome to the Ordinary. You talk about like there is a beauty in being extraordinary in your ordinariness, like being the faithful and reliable person who people know you're going to be around. They know you're going to do a good job. They know they can depend on you. Like, we all want to be special, and very few people will be. But there's something really beautiful and like holy and honorable, and just like, Lord, I'm gonna try to honor you in anything you give me, whether it's big or whether it's small. I want to honor you in it, and I'm really excited for that, and I feel like Scott has been that for so long for our family. Like he's just faithfully doing the grit work, you know, or that's not sentence that makes sense, but you know what I mean?
Doing the work with grit.
Yes. And I don't know, I just feel excited to do that with him.
Well, thank you for 9 years of doing a role that has been integral to our church's growth and people's spiritual development. And there have been people who are singing songs in cars while crying that they learned here. Yeah. You know, that you and the team helped them learn to sing. There are people who they maybe haven't memorized a lot of scripture,
right?
But there are songs that their hearts that the Spirit uses at certain times. And I'm so glad you're going to be here. You know,
me too.
That. But I'm very grateful for your service. And for those of you who don't know, Niccole is going to be part of the team that helps us find a worship leader. But I think the plan is she's going to be like kind of inconspicuous-y for a while, just to make sure that person can get their footing, and then she'll figure it out.
That's right. Yeah, figure it out. Maybe one day I'll audition again. You know?
Yeah.
In 10 years.
Yeah, it's been really fun having you on staff.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
going
been
to miss
fun.
you being on the team a lot.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because we've had some really key female leaders for a while that were like our key second tier of leadership. And just over the last couple of years, like a couple of men have kind of popped up and we have a little bit more male leadership.
Yeah.
And sometimes I struggle with that a little bit because there's often more of a competitive spirit that comes in when that's happening. But I think Sawyer's been doing a great job.
Yeah.
And talk about somebody who like is disciplined.
Oh man, and wants to get stuff done.
Yeah.
I know
so
that's
great.
something that's like, I feel that in the past few meetings, I'm seeing what Sawyer's doing. I'm seeing what Paxton's doing. I'm like, oh, there's so much exciting stuff. Yeah. And Morgan and JC on the like just so many things. I'm like, I'm leaving at a really fun time, but I'm not leaving the church.
Right when you're becoming like the mentor.
I know. And then being the mentor is really fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can do mentor stuff and not on the staff team.
Yeah. Well, we hope you come back in however many years is appropriate.
Yeah.
And you may not even be, I mean, we've talked about this, you may not even be a music leader at that point. You may be a staff director or something like that.
Who
but
knows?
we'll see what happens.
That's right.
But our church is better for you having served it.
Thanks.
And we hope you have a ton of fun with the boys.
Oh, man. I will. This will be the last thing. We'll never stop talking.
Yeah, you and I are not a good match for stopping talking.
I'll share this last thing. Scott, he threw me a party to celebrate leaving.
I was so sad we couldn't be there.
I know. It was a big surprise bash. It was awesome. But he got me 2 gifts. He got me one that he said to remember the past and one to prepare for the future. The one to remember the past was this art print that he made for me that I'll show you, but it was beautiful. It has clips from our favorite hymn, which is "This Is My Father's World."
Mm-hmm.
And then it also had some of the text from the first song I wrote for High Point, which was "Forever Be." Had a map of the sanctuary on it. It's like this collage thing.
Mm-hmm.
Had a map of the sanctuary on it. It had that kind of looked like a piano, and the black keys represented the number of years I was here.
Mm-hmm.
On the if you look closely at the map of the sanctuary, in one spot it says it's too loud, and in another spot it says it's not loud enough. So it's beautiful. It's hanging in our kitchen. But then the gift was to prepare for the future. He got me my own baseball mitt to play catch with our boys.
That's really sweet.
It's really sweet.
Yeah. You guys at a park.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. Well, this has been great.
Yep.
I don't know when we'll do it again. We may try to drag you on podcasts because of your loquaciousness.
Yeah. Because I can match wits and keep you on track.
Yeah, we used to talk about it as like fluency. Like you know what you think right now. It's like we're both kind of analytical people, but kind of intuitive.
Also interruptible and willing to interrupt.
I joked with you at your party that like there's something about us both having Britishness in our line, and then
but then like the
you're
hot
Latino and
culture,
I'm Italian.
Culture.
And it's kind of like interrupting.
Yeah.
Like jibing, like that kind of
Makes
stuff.
for an interesting combination.
All right, thanks for listening if you've made it to the end.
I know.
And this has been the Engaged and Equipped podcast.